Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. Ready to dive into something new today?
Always.
All right, well, today we're looking at Nvidia, the chip company.
Yeah, the one that's been absolutely killing it in the AI market.
Exactly, and we're going to be focusing on their potential role in the future of AI. We found this really interesting article from the Motley Fool called Prediction. This one artificial intelligence development will be a once-in-a-generation opportunity for Nvidia.
Oh, wow. Bold claim.
Right, it was published just the other day, on January 8th, 2025, so it's fresh off the press. And it basically argues that there's this one specific development in AI that could propel NVIDIA even further than where they are now.
Which is already pretty far, to be fair. Their stock performance over the last couple of years has been, well, remarkable.
Totally, it has. But this article suggests that this might just be the tip of the iceberg for them. They're pointing to something called Agentic AI as the next big thing. So I guess the big question is NVIDIA's success just getting started, or is this as good as it gets?
Well, their most recent quarter saw a record $30 billion in revenue just from AI alone. I mean, that's phenomenal growth, but the question is, can they sustain it?
That's what we're here to find out. Let's rewind a bit first, though. NVIDIA wasn't always an AI juggernaut, were they?
No, not at all. They actually started out in the gaming world.
Right, with their GPUs, graphics processing units.
Yep. Those were the go-to if you wanted the best performance for your games.
So how did they end up leading the charge in AI?
Well, they made a really savvy move by recognizing that their GPUs were also perfect for AI.
How so?
The complex calculations that AI needs, it turns out they're very similar to what GPUs are designed to do.
So it's sort of a happy accident to just stumbled into this whole AI thing.
Not exactly. I mean, yes, they started with GPUs, but they didn't stop there. Nvidia built a whole ecosystem around it.
Meaning?
Well, they started offering software, networking tools, pretty much everything developers would need to build and deploy AI solutions.
So they weren't just selling the picks and shovels during the gold rush. They decided to build the whole mining town.
I like that analogy. And they've been really committed to staying ahead of the game. They release new GPUs like clockwork every year, and they always make sure they're backward compatible.
So developers can just keep building on what they already have,
Yeah.
which keeps them in the NVIDIA ecosystem.
Exactly. It's a smart strategy.
Makes them pretty indispensable to anyone working on AI. Which brings us back to that article and this idea of agentic AI. It sounds like it could be the next evolution of artificial intelligence. Can you break that down for us? What exactly is it, and how's it different from the AI we're already using every day?
Sure. So think of it this way. Most of the AI we use today, it's reactive, right? Like you ask it a question or give it a command and it responds.
It's like asking Siri for the weather.
Right. Agentic AI is different. It's proactive.
Proactive.
Yeah. It doesn't just answer questions. It solves complex problems. It's more like a really capable digital assistant.
So more than just setting a timer or playing music.
Way more. These agentic AI, they can gather information, analyze data, make decisions. They can even take action out there in the real world.
Whoa, okay, so like what would that look like?
Well, picture this. An agentic AI monitoring a factory floor. It can identify safety hazards, and actually take steps to correct them, all before a human worker is ever even at risk.
That's a far cry from asking Alexa to turn off the lights.
It really is. But here's the really mind-blowing part. These agents, they learn and improve every time they do something. The more data they collect, the more tasks they perform, the smarter they get.
So the more they do, the better they get at doing.
Exactly. It's this constant cycle of learning and improvement.
Powerful stuff.
Yeah.
So where does NVIDIA fit into all of this?
They're essentially providing the tools for people to build these agents.
Okay, so like they're giving people the building blocks.
Yeah, exactly. They're working with partners to create like blueprints that developers can use to get started. And they're making sure all these blueprints work seamlessly with their existing software platform.
It's like they saw this whole thing coming before anyone else even knew it was on the horizon. They're really positioning themselves as the platform for agentic AI.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And they just unveiled their own AI blueprint at CES this year. It's for video summarization.
So an AI that can watch like hours of footage and condense it into a concise summary.
Exactly.
That could be huge. Security, education, even just for getting through all those meeting recordings.
Right.
Okay, so I'm starting to see why this could be a game changer for NVIDIA. But is it really this once-in-a-generation opportunity like the article says?
To answer that, we need to look at the potential impact of this whole agentic AI thing. If it takes off the way some people are predicting, it could revolutionize almost every industry out there. And Nvidia is right there, providing the infrastructure for all of it.
Okay, well, now I really want to dive deeper into this whole agentic revolution. What could it mean for Nvidia's future?
I think we're going to uncover some really interesting insights.
All right, listeners, that's it for part 1. Make sure to come back for part 2 to hear more about this potential agentic revolution and what it could mean for Nvidia's future.
Welcome back to our deep dive into Nvidia and the world of agentic AI.
So before the break, we were talking about how agentic AI could be like as revolutionary as the internet, but you kind of hinted that there might be some like speed bumps for Nvidia along the way.
Yeah, that's right. The article we're looking at is super optimistic, but there are definitely some challenges to think about.
So let's get into it. What are some of the things that could slow down, like the adoption of this whole agentic AI thing?
Well, for one, building these AI agents, it's not exactly a walk in the park, you know?
Yeah, it sounds pretty complicated.
It is. You need a lot of specialized knowledge, some serious computing power, and access to mountains of data. Not every company has all of that just lying around.
Right. So even if everyone's like super excited about this agentic AI thing, they might not even have the resources to make it happen.
Exactly. And then even if they can build these agents, integrating them into their existing systems, that's a whole other hurdle. Like companies would have to rethink how they do things from the ground up.
It's not just like installing a new app. It's like rewiring the whole machine.
Exactly. And then there's the competition to worry about. I mean, yeah, Nvidia is the big dog right now, but things change fast in the tech world.
New players could pop up, right?
Absolutely. Google, Intel, they're pouring money into AI. And someone could easily figure out a way to, like, leapfrog Nvidia.
So even with a head start, Nvidia isn't guaranteed to win this whole agentic AI race.
Nope, not at all. To stay on top, they need to keep innovating, keep adapting, and that's not easy.
That's a good reminder that in the tech world, today's superstar can be tomorrow's forgotten story. But let's stick with Nvidia for now. Their stock has been on fire lately. Is this likely to continue, or is the market getting, like, a little ahead of itself?
Well, we got to remember, past performance doesn't guarantee future results. Just because they've done well doesn't mean they'll keep doing well, you know?
Classic investing advice. Don't chase past returns.
Right. And right now, Nvidia's stock is trading at a really high multiple, meaning the market is assuming a lot of future growth. If they don't deliver on those expectations...
the stock could take a hit.
Exactly. So even if agentic AI is the next big thing, Nvidia's stock might not, skyrocket like some investors are hoping.
Feels like we need to be cautious and, like, do our homework.
Definitely. Investors need to look beyond the hype and really dig into the company's financials, their growth prospects, their competition, all of that.
So due diligence is more important than ever in this crazy AI landscape. Are there any other red flags, like warning signs, that investors should be watching out for?
One thing to think about is their reliance on one product or market. Right now, Nvidia is heavily dependent on the demand for their AI chips.
But what if that demand slows down? Or what if some, like, new technology comes along and, like, disrupts the whole market?
Exactly. That's why diversification is so important, even for a company like Nvidia that seems to have, struck gold with AI.
Okay, so we've talked about some of the potential risks for investors, even with all this excitement around agentic AI. But let's zoom out a bit. How does all of this fit into a listener's overall investment strategy?
That's a great question. It's all about context, Every investment needs to be part of a diversified portfolio. And everyone has their own risk tolerance. Are you in it for the short haul, or are you playing the long game?
Right. Like, even if this agentic AI is the next big thing, it might take a while for those gains to show up in Nvidia's stock price.
Exactly. Patience is key when you're investing in, disruptive technologies. There are going to be bumps along the road. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme.
This has been a super interesting conversation. We've covered a lot. From the nitty-gritty of how agentic AI works to the potential risks and rewards for investors.
Yeah, we've talked about the technology, Nvidia's strategy, and the importance of a balanced investment approach.
But there's one big piece of the puzzle we haven't really touched on yet. The big picture, The societal implications of all this. Agentic AI could change the world in some pretty major ways, both good and bad.
Definitely. And I think that's where we need to go next. It's a conversation that goes way beyond just, the financial side of things.
All right, listeners, that's it for part 2. Come back for part 3, where we'll explore the societal impact of this whole agentic AI thing. It's going to be a fascinating discussion. See you soon. All right, welcome back to the deep dive. So we've been talking about Nvidia and this whole agentic AI thing, how it could impact investors and everything. But now I think it's time to zoom out a little, look at the bigger picture.
I agree. This isn't just about, stocks and investments. Agentic AI has the potential to fundamentally change society.
It's kind of mind-blowing, right? These AI agents out there in the world making decisions, maybe even controlling things. It feels like, I don't know, something out of a movie.
It does, but it's getting more and more real every day. And that brings up a whole bunch of really important questions, like what happens to jobs? What happens when these agents can do more and more?
Yeah, that's the big fear, right? Robots taking over and humans, being out of work.
It's a valid concern, but I think it's a little more complicated than just robots versus humans.
Okay, help me understand that. What do you mean?
Well, some jobs will definitely be automated, especially jobs that are repetitive or dangerous or involve tons of data. But this will also create new jobs that we can't even imagine yet.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, think about the internet. No one could have predicted all the jobs that would come from that.
Exactly. Every big technological shift, it shakes things up. But the key is to adapt, to learn skills that work with AI, not against it.
So maybe it's not about robots taking our jobs, but about humans and AI working together,
Yeah, I think that's much more likely. AI could take care of the boring stuff, and we can focus on things that need, creativity and critical thinking and human connection.
That's a more optimistic way to look at it. But,
Yeah.
I mean, there are still downsides, right? What about privacy? The more data these agents collect, the more risk there is for, misuse.
Oh, absolutely. Privacy is huge. As AI gets more intertwined with our lives, we need to be super careful about data. We need to make sure these agents are being used responsibly.
It's almost like we're writing the rule book while the game's being played.
Yeah, I like that. It's tricky for sure. But we have to have these conversations, We need guidelines for how we develop and use this technology.
Okay, so we've talked about some of the challenges, but what about the good stuff? How could agentic AI make the world, a better place?
The possibilities are pretty incredible. Imagine these AI agents helping us solve some of our biggest problems, like climate change, poverty, disease. They could analyze huge amounts of data and come up with solutions we haven't even thought of.
Okay, give me an example, like a real-world example.
Sure. Imagine an agent focused on reducing carbon emissions. It could analyze data from energy grids, transportation systems, factories, even individual homes. And then using all that data, it could come up with strategies to optimize energy use, cut down on waste, and switch to renewable energy.
That would be amazing. And that's just one example, right?
Yeah, just one. This technology could unlock solutions we can't even fathom right now. It's not a magic bullet, but it could be a powerful tool for good.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Nvidia and the future of AI, what's the key takeaway for our listeners?
I think the most important thing is to be, both excited and cautious. Embrace the possibilities, but don't ignore the risks. Stay informed, ask questions, and let's figure out how we want to shape this future together.
That's a great point. The future of AI isn't set in stone. It's something we're all creating through the choices we make.
Exactly. So let's make informed choices.
I love that. This has been such a fascinating conversation. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Nvidia and agentic AI. We hope you've learned something and that you're as excited as we are about what the future holds.
It's going to be an interesting ride, that's for sure.
Thanks for listening, everyone. And we'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.